One of my favorite film franchises of all time is the Fast and Furious series. And right now, I'm about to rank one of my favorite series of all time. So let's get to it. In last place, we have The Fate of the Furious. Honestly, this movie just did not hit with me at all. Turning Dom against his family, I just didn't... That wasn't like my type of thing. I just don't like what they did with that. It really turns like his back to like all his beliefs, even though like the reason why he did it is because of his family. I just didn't like how they really set it all up either. And I just didn't like the setup at all. I didn't like the plot of the movie. The villain was okay. I think she's going to come back again sometime around here in one of these upcoming movies. So maybe she turns out better. But Fate of the Furious, not my favorite movie, and my least favorite movie in the Fast and Furious series. Then we move on to number 8, and Tokyo Drift. The only one that's kind of not really related to the whole film franchise, kind of its own separate thing. Nobody really knows why they kind of just went a whole different way with the third movie, but they did. So here we are. We have Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift, and honestly, this is a pretty good movie. In my opinion, I really do like this movie. Even though it's not the greatest plot-wise, it doesn't have like all the main characters, all the main stars that you're used to. It's still a pretty good movie. It's an interesting movie, especially just a good action racing drift movie, and kind of hits Fast and Furious, at least what the original story and background was in its core. Then, next up, we have the movie that followed Tokyo Drift and brought him back to its core in Fast and Furious. This is the one where you see Letty die in, so spoiler alert. But this movie kind of hits back to what originally it did well, where it just went back to its cores, went back to the racing, the action, the thrills, all of that. It just went back to the cores of what really the Fast and Furious was originally known for, but also started implementing what they would eventually be known for too, where you have the cop showdown, and you kind of have the police taking over, and then, of course, at the end of the movie, you have Dom getting caught, basically. So, all in all, it's just Brian O'Connor finally turning all the way around to the side he actually supposed to be on, and then, of course, you know how it plays out in the whole movie. Then, at number 6, we have Too Fast, Too Furious. This one's a fun one. We get introduced to Brian O'Connor's guys, and Tez and Ramon. And this kind of hits at the core of, it's just basically Ramon and Brian just going in Miami and basically busting this drug cartel, so Brian's able to get back to the police court, basically, or at least undercover work. And that's basically the plot of the movie. So, but this one's just a high action, high thriller, big scenes, crazy stuff, kind of what you expect out of Fast and Furious. And man, does this one have an epic finale to end it on. Then we have Furious 6. You know, where kind of just Shaw's get introduced into the series, as this is where we start seeing it go from more a racing series, being fast, to being more of a team just taking down other bad guys, basically. So, of course, also, this is the one where Letty comes back, kind of how the whole story starts anyways. That's why they kind of get put into this situation where they're going up against a group of bad guys who's basically them. So, we see that kind of interact with each other. And then we still see, of course, the high action, the high thrillers. You have the whole airplane scene at the end of the movie, which is just amazing. So, top 5 movie out of the Fast and Furious franchise. Then at number 4, we have the original, The Fast and the Furious. This one is classic. Dominic Toretto, Letty, you have Brian O'Connor just going after Letty, kind of, and basically leaving his roots of trying to be in the police corps for a whole girl and the whole racing thing. So, and we get really introduced to Dominic Toretto's character. We see what's kind of important to him, what's kind of not. And this really sets hard with an original, or more about speed and racing compared to what it eventually moves off into. But for the original set of series, this the best of like the first four. So, and of course, in this movie, you kind of have like that double type finale, really, too, where you have a hint that's ending at the one scene where you see where they go after the trucker, and then the whole accident all happens. Brian kind of releases that he's a cop to Dom, so we kind of have all that scene, but that turns out to not actually be the finale, and there's a whole different finale that's even more heartbreaking, crazier than what you thought the finale would be. Either way, either finale would have been great. So, but the one that ended on was even better because you just have the famous, of course, car jump before the train scene, and then Brian letting Dom get away, of course. And that moves us to Fury 7, probably the most craziest and outrageous of them all, but also one of the more fun ones because of how crazy it actually is. Of course, this is where Shaw is going after them, hunting them down kind of one by one because they killed his brother, or they didn't kill his brother, but they sent his brother to jail, like a high prison. So now Shaw is going after all of them, and this movie just takes on crazy scene after crazy scene, from jumping out of the freaking plane scene into just try to find the little thing, the eye thing to basically track everybody in the world off of everything. Crazy scene. And then you also have just the crazy fight scenes in this movie are absolutely amazing. And you can't forget the cars don't fly scene where they literally jump from building to building inside the car. Absolutely crazy, but it's Fast and Furious, so what do you expect? And of course, you have the final battle in the city of LA using the tracker, basically like playing hot potato with it. And then you have Dom and Shaw just fighting it out in the parking lot. Just absolutely fantastic movie. And of course, you have the send off for Paul Walker at the end of it, which made everybody at least tear up a little. Then at number 2, I have Hobbs and Shaw. Hobbs and Shaw was absolutely not as... It was better, a lot better than what I was expecting going into watching it. Like, I didn't expect it to be at number 2 ahead of Fury 7 going into it. But man, did it hit on all levels. It showed this just showed more of Hobbs' character, like, basically more of Hobbs' background compared, so especially since, you know, how The Rock and Vin Diesel basically aren't getting along. So basically now they're having the Fast and Furious, and Hobbs and Shaw are like their own separate thing. So now they're diving more into Hobbs, into his background, into how he was a child. And man, what a background story this was for a character we barely knew very little about. This was amazing. And then Hobbs and Shaw just play very well together. Just one's basically the person that hunts down everybody, at least used to hunt down everybody when they needed a person to get arrested. That was top of the wanted, basically. And then your other guy, known for being on top of the wanted list because he's just that good and can never get caught. So, and just the two characters always clash with each other. You have some really good fight scenes. And then, of course, the villain in this, you have the, like, main guy that you're thinking is the villain, but it's really this whole organization behind all of it that you have to really take down, not really just this one guy. So I think we're going to see, this is just the beginning of something coming out of this series, and that's why I'm really excited for it, and that's why it's in my top 2. And of course, Fast and Furious, the only movie you're going to have number 1, at least I hope so, is Fast 5. This movie is amazing. It's basically everything you want a Fast and Furious movie to be. It's introduces Hobbs' character in it, where you see The Rock basically take over this policeman role, hunting down Dom, Mia, Brian, because they got Dom out of the little bus prison thing that they were transferring into. And then you see, so you're basically seeing the fight scenes between those two. You see the family aspect where you see the whole family aspect, especially since this is where they basically make their crew. And of course, they pull basically a bunch of stars out for this one movie where you have Brian O'Connor, you have Paul Walker, Vin Diesel, you have Mia's character, and then you have Han and Giselle. You also have that little police officer, which ends up being Dom's girlfriend for a little bit, that he eventually has a kids with. You have Roman Pierce, of course, played by Tyrese Gibson. And then you have Taj. Then you have Tej, played by Ludacris, of course. And just, this whole crew just works so well together. And then, of course, you get the original Fast and Furious, where you have all the speed. And then you kind of get a little bit new. And, of course, you can't forget, it's basically a heist movie for Fast and Furious. So, amazing movie. One of my favorites, and definitely recommend it if you haven't watched it yet. That's my ranking of one of my favorite film franchises of all time, the Fast and the Furious franchise. I want to see your guys' rankings, your guys' opinions down below. Also, if you have a suggestion for another video, make sure to put that down in the comments below as well. Make sure to click on this video, as it is my most recent upload, and this is the playlist similar to this video right here. And if you guys just want to click on those links down in the description, you have Instagram, Twitter, Discord, and Patreon. You can keep up on all the stuff I am working on right there. Of course, thank you guys for watching, and just make sure to keep on weaving through every day, just like it is your last.